Paige?
Yes. Hello.
Hi. Hey, welcome to Gigi and the 561.
Thank you.
I'm so glad you're here with me this evening. We have a guest today from Fort Worth, Texas, Paige Pauley from Paige Pauley Design and Jewelry Studio. Paige, wow, there's so much to talk about that the first thing I'm going to say to you is you have to come again because there's no way that we can get through everything in this one podcast. You have quite a resume, quite a history of really fascinating things, and we're going to get to all of that. And so everybody stay with us because you're going to want to hear about all these things that Paige has going on and has gone on. First thing, though, I want to talk about something in your childhood, something maybe that you loved that just sort of started off this amazing adventure for Paige Pauley.
Okay. We lived in England.
Something we don't know. Well, you lived in England. I'm jealous already.
Yeah. When I was 3 years old, my father was in the Air Force, and he got offered a position with the Royal Air Force. And it was an exchange program. And so he went over there. We were there for 5 years. And so all of my first memories are from living in England, which was amazing. It was beautiful.
Wow.
And Mom and Dad, in their wisdom, chose to live out in the country. They didn't want to live on base. And so we moved out to a little bitty town called Legsby, and it's close to Market Raisin, which is another little bitty town, and that's 30 minutes from Lincoln.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So we basically grew up in the area where King Richard, Legsby Woods, belonged to King Richard. That was where he went hunting all the time.
Oh, my gosh.
And so there were a lot of the old traditions there. We lived in a place that had a population of about 25, including the sheep. And there was a one-room schoolhouse, and there were children of all ages. Of course, there weren't many of us, and most of the people that lived there worked for the landowner, the Drings.
Okay.
But it was just idyllic, and it was beautiful, and you were living in this historic area, and this was where Robin Hood and all of his merry men hung out for a while, and It was just fascinating. And I think that's where my love of horses actually started.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you remember if you picked up an accent? I mean, because let me tell you why I asked that question. Gary and I watch a lot of British mystery shows, and actually they take place in these little villages like you're talking about. And after some, for a few weeks, I began to speak that way. So I pick it up.
Yes, it's very easy to pick it up, especially when you're young. And I actually started school over there when I was 3 years old. Mr. Macon was the headmaster, and my brother was in school. He's 2 years older than I was. And I would go down, I would sneak down to the school and stand there at the gates and watch the kids. And Mr. Macon saw me. And so he walked me back home, and talked to my mother and said, "Is it okay if she comes to school?"
Oh, wow. I started first grade when I was 5, and I thought that was young. 3. Boy, you were eager. Okay, so that really does explain so much about your adventure, your life, because there's so much, and it's really, really fascinating. What do you consider to be your fork in the road? Because when Gary and I see a fork in the road, we take it.
Yes.
This way down. But for you, what do you consider to be your, if you want to share that with us?
I have a couple of things. When I realized that I needed to leave the corporate world, that was just a few years ago. That was a major fork in the road.
Yeah.
And it was a very difficult decision, but it got to a point to where I just simply couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
And so I'm standing at this crossroads and trying to figure out what I'm going to do, and I had no plan and essentially no real money saved, and I didn't have any idea what was going to happen, and walked into my boss's office and said, I think August 1st is going to be my last day here.
That was a very brave thing to do.
It was very scary.
Yeah.
But I couldn't do it anymore. I just couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
So
I hear you. I definitely.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I completely understand. Oh yeah. As I said at the beginning, you are very diverse in many ways, the things that you do, and I do want to talk about your business and what you do, some of your passions and everything. But one thing I respect you so much for, your love of animals and your love of rescue animals, and you slay on. I get choked up. I mean, I really did when your last. I think it was your last adoption that the Miss Maple sugar. Miss Maple
Chunky.
Sugar, yes, and now it's Chunky, and she, and you just brought her into your pack, and it really touched me, and I love that aspect of your life and how busy you are and all the things going on, but your heart is just huge about these rescues and the things you do.
Oh, thank you. Well, they're wonderful, and Chunky was a dog that nobody wanted.
Oh, so sad.
She just, bless her heart, by no fault of her own, her parents basically got pregnant, had a baby, and kind of tossed her out in the backyard and just left her. Her tail got broken somehow.
Oh,
it actually got cut off.
What? Oh no.
And broken, so it sticks out sideways. It's really funny because when she gets excited, it starts wiggling 90 miles an hour, and it's sticking straight out sideways.
But it looks like the pack is doing. I mean, it looks like they're blending together pretty well.
They are. It's been a year now, and Barney
has it
finally.
Been a year? You've had her for a year.
Yes,
wow.
I've had her for a year, and Barney finally stopped asking me when she was going to go home.
Now, do you have cats, or is it you just have dogs?
I've had cats. I had my original pack was 3 horses, 2 dogs, 2 cats, and 1.5 kids. That was the original pack. That was when I was in my 40s.
Wow.
And now I'm down to 3 dogs.
Overachiever just leaps into my mind. You just But I do want to talk about, if you don't want to, it's okay, but your son, you have one son like we do, and he's a chef, Jonathan.
He is a chef.
Did he get that from you? I mean, how did that happen?
Oh, God, no. I'm famous for just walking into a kitchen and a fire starts. I mean, it just, my kitchen is a hallway. That's all it is for me.
I gotcha.
Oh, man. Actually, Jonathan has a very interesting story. He came to live with me when he was 5. And his mother was an alcoholic drug addict that had a lot of difficulties and really couldn't care for the kids. He had a sister who was 2 years older than he was. She went to live with her great-grandmother, and Jonathan was with his great-aunt Betty and Uncle Guy, and through a really long, long chain of events, he ended up at my house. And I had told Aunt Betty, I've essentially got this whole family, the Lewis family, Aunt Betty and Uncle Guy Lewis, and Mama and Papa, and Amanda, and just crazy. It was just crazy. All of a sudden, I had this family and I had a 5-year-old. I was 42, I was 40, and I had a 5-year-old standing there looking at me like, what are you doing?
They have your number really quick. My granddaughter does.
He did. But I didn't cook, and I was a terrible cook, and I remember one night we sat down to eat, and whatever I had fixed was absolutely god awful. And I looked at Jonathan and I said, "This isn't very good, is it?" And God love him. He said, "Well, it's not the best you've ever made."
How generous.
And I said, "Give me your plate." And I put the plates in the sink and I said, "Come on, let's go." And we ate out after that. But we didn't eat junk food. I mean, we went to restaurants. I taught him about all the different types of foods. We would go try, oh God, the first time he ate crab legs. I wish I had on video. He loved crab legs.
Oh, he did love it. Oh.
Yes, he did. He was just so funny. But you also have to understand that there were long periods of time that he and his sister would go without food.
Wow.
And so he definitely had food issues. And we, working with a counselor, we set a schedule so that he knew exactly when he was going to eat. He didn't have to worry about that there wasn't going to be any food. And as he grew, when he was in elementary school, he was taking money to school, and I found out, and I asked him about it, and I said, you aren't supposed to take money to school, and so what are you doing? And he said, well, there's this kid. And I said, there's a kid that doesn't have enough food, isn't there? He said, yes. So he was taking money to school, and he was buying food for this kid.
Oh, gosh.
Wow. And I said, okay. I said, you keep doing that, and if you get in trouble, you let me know. I'll take care of it. So
that's amazing.
He has always wanted to feed people. He didn't cook. I mean, he didn't cook at my house. Of course, we never cooked, but he would watch cooking shows on Channel 13 on Saturdays.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, if we weren't out at the barn with the horses, he was in front of that TV set watching cooking shows. So when it got to where we went to the college fairs, he came up with some crazy idea that he was going to go to business school and he was going to do this and he was going to do that. And I said, okay, let's go to college fair. And we're walking around, and he just had an anxiety attack. And I pulled him over on the side and said, what's going on? And he said, I can't do this. And I said, well, what is it that you can't do? He said, this. And I said, okay. I said, well, let me ask you something. If you could do anything in the world, there's nothing stopping you. Money doesn't make any difference. Time doesn't make any difference. If there was anything in the world you could do, what would it be? He said, I just want to cook. I said, okay.
Calling for sure.
Yeah. I said, let's go. So we left, we came home, and we started looking for culinary schools. And that's what he did.
What a great mom. Really? No,
maybe.
I mean it. I mean, no. And every time I see photos of you two, it's so sweet. And his haircut is exactly like our son's, by the way. They have the same haircut. Just FYI. He looks like a great person. And if next time we're in Texas, we're going to come and get you, and we're going to go to a restaurant and let him cook for us. I do want to thank you for sharing that, though. I mean, wow, what a great story.
He's a powerful young man. He's 31 now, and he had a lot to overcome, and he did it. And he did it. We helped support him, but he's the one who had to do it.
Yeah,
and he did do it. So,
well, it's quite obvious, and so kudos, really to the support that he had, but to him for doing what he's doing and what he loves to do. And you know what, Paige, I think I had someone once tell me this had to do with a job situation, and asked me about making money, making, how to feel about making money. And I said, well, that's not the most important thing. This is going to be a job interview. And he's like, well, then you're not going to be right for this job. And I said, well, with all due respect, if you have passion for what you do and you really love what you do, the money comes. And I really have always believed that. And he said, when can you interview? And I ended up not going with that company because of that. But that conversation always stuck with me because I really do believe that. I want to talk about your business as we talk about business.
Okay.
The one thing that I've noticed about your amazing, you're an artist. You are an absolute creative genius with your jewelry. I mean it.
Wow,
and
thank you.
No, I am a huge jewelry person. So when I watch your things that you post, one thing that jumps out at me that perplexes me though about your work, you love stone, and you get these giant pieces, and I'm like, that looks incredibly hard, Paige. Why don't you just buy the stone? I mean, and it's time to cut. And it's like, oh, respect. I respect that so much. I really do. It just looks incredibly hard.
I got tired. Well, first of all, when COVID hit, my business disappeared.
Yeah.
Everything disappeared.
Yeah.
And so I found that I had a lot of time on my hands. And so, so I was like, what am I going to do? Okay, well, you know what? I always wanted to learn how to cut turquoise. Yay!
Amazing.
And that's what I did.
It's amazing. And some of your jewelry, your silver, it is stunning. And thank
you.
It really is. And I love how you're a night owl, and you just, you kind of work late into and one of my favorite things is to see the photos of your precious, I think it's always Barney that hangs out with you.
Oh yeah, Barney and Chunky.
Did you come to bed already?
Yeah. Barney eventually gives up and he goes and gets in bed. Chunky
hilarious.
stays right here.
But tell me, though, about your work. Tell me, because when we were in Ohio and I had my art gallery, and I sold a lot of art that I had to collectors, and there are 2 or 3 pieces that I sold. I regret. I wish I had not, because I loved them that much. And
yes.
To this day, Gary still, I harp on it. Say, I wish I still had it. Has that happened to you? I mean, you loved something so much that you sold that you wish you had it back?
Yes. Yes, there's one piece in particular, and I knew the minute I sold it that I had made a mistake.
Yeah.
I knew it.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking, I'll make another one. Well, that doesn't happen.
The thing that's special about your work is, and you say it clearly, if you want a piece that you see, you better get it, because I may not ever make it again. This will be a one of a kind, more than likely.
I don't do multiples. I will do things that are similar, but I tried doing some multiples, and by the time I finished the third one, I didn't ever want to see it again.
Yeah. Well,
so
you
I
can't.
just don't do that.
When you really are an artist, I mean, it's the same thing with painting. It was the same thing with painting for me. You can't do it again. You can't. Somebody wants something like that.
Can't. Exactly.
You just can't do it. What has been in your studio with your art, your biggest challenge piece, or something that you threw in the towel, or you just said, it's not worth it, I can't do it, or has that ever happened?
It has happened. And there were 3 or 4 pieces that I did this year that had been sitting on my, I don't know, maybe 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That I didn't have the skill or the knowledge to actually finish them or produce them. And so this was the year for me to learn. And I just started learning. I love Native American jewelry. and I didn't know how to produce it. I didn't know how to make it. I didn't know how to make anything even similar to it. It's just a whole different ballgame from the contemporary stuff that I do. Mm-hmm. And so I ordered a bunch of silver because I knew it was that I wasn't going to be able to get it later on in the year. So I ordered as much as I could get, and started learning how to do the silversmithing with the turquoise and the sodalites and the moonstones, and it was crazy. I have to say very honestly, I cussed a lot.
We all have this year, and we're not even making jewelry.
I melted a lot of things, and I melted things I didn't want to melt. You know?
I love your honesty. I truly do.
But I also have to say, whenever I did do something like that, and I melted something that I didn't want to melt, it was fascinating to watch that process. It was fascinating to watch the metal.
This is that little girl that was 3 standing at the gate in England.
Yes.
Wanting to go. That's where that comes from.
Yes, it's fascinating. The colors that the metal changes into, wow. And the way it changes, and the way it melts, and the way it moves, and sometimes the piece that was melted is cool enough, I mean really cool looking, to where you put it over on the side and you say, I'm going to make something with that someday.
Kind of like people that blow glass, that something goes wrong, and then it ends up being a real artistic piece of some sort that they didn't expect.
Yes.
Kind of the same way.
Yes, exactly. So sometimes some of the coolest pieces that I have made, that I think are the coolest pieces, were mistakes.
That's art. That is just art. Now, I know you take your stuff to a lot of shows, and I want to get to some of that, but do you do any teaching? Do you teach? Have you thought about that, or do you already?
This year was 2020 was supposed to be the year that I was going to start teaching.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. I do a lot of mentoring online.
Oh, do you? Oh, that's great.
Yes. And I purchased another jeweler's bench, and I redid part of my studio and got it all set up, and everything is ready to go for students. And boom,
wonderful! Wow,
COVID hit.
Yeah, but that's okay, because we're going to come out of it. We're
yes,
going
we
to
are.
come out of it, and
yes, we are.
And that'll be really good. Before we get to kind of your shows and things like that, a couple more little things of interest about Paige Pauley that I have to drill down into just a little bit. Now, wave me off if you want to, but I am so curious about 2 things in particular. A gas explosion that you endured? Did I read that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you want to share? I mean, it's just, I'm fascinated by that. And you're okay, and the dogs are okay. So,
yeah.
Huh?
Okay. My house was built in 1942.
Okay. I like that.
Pier and beam. Nothing spectacular, but I kept smelling this funny odor, but it didn't smell like gas. And I thought, oh, geez, that, something's wrong here. But I knew it wasn't gas, and so I called that. It was a Labor Day weekend, and I called my plumber and said this. And Wayne's been working on my house for like 25 years. And I said, left him a message that said, Wayne, I know you're on vacation, but when you get back, would you give me a call? I think the sewer line broke under my house. And so it's a little odorous in here. But I'm going to go down to the other end of the house and sleep down there. So call me when you can. Well, the next morning, I decided I was going to wash some dishes and my breakfast dishes. Mm-hmm. And then I thought, well, maybe it is gas. And then I thought, no, it's not gas. It doesn't smell like gas. I know what gas smells like. And so I said, well, just to be on the safe side, I'm not going to do anything, except I turned on the hot water to rinse off the dishes, and boom!
You turned on the hot water, and that did it?
That did it. The gas line ran into the house underneath the bathtub, and there was a water leak that was so minimal that they figured that it had been dripping on the gas line for probably 12 to 14 years.
Whoa.
And rotted it out.
Oh,
it
my
snapped.
God.
Now, it went under the house, and then it came up inside the walls. So
okay,
it wasn't...
You were so lucky. You were so lucky, though. Wow.
Well, I was, yeah. They sent experts. Nobody could figure it out, and they sent 3 or 4 experts out from all over the country to look at this and figure out what happened. I had opened all the windows down at the other end of the house, came down to the end where my studio is, because I had a bedroom down there, slept with the dogs, and all of those walls at the other end filled up with gas. So
wow.
when the hot water heater came on, which was a gas hot water heater, it ignited and it blew.
Oh, that's frightening.
It was crazy. It was crazy.
That is.
It blew me off my feet. I landed about 6 feet back, and I stood there, and I'm thinking, what in the hell? And I looked up and I thought, oh, that's not right. I can see into my bedroom. wait a minute.
Hello, bedroom.
There aren't any interior walls here. What?
Oh, hey.
But it didn't blow out the exterior walls. It just blew the interior walls.
There's a blessing there, I guess. Wow. It
was.
I had to know more. It's like she survived the gas. I mean, I have to know more about that. Oh, my goodness.
It was crazy.
But speaking of crazy, and I just, I love stuff like this because I relate to it. Totally.
Uh-huh.
Your fear of vacuum cleaners. What's that?
I got attacked by a vacuum cleaner. And I'm serious. I did. I got attacked by a vacuum cleaner. And I just hate them with a passion. And will do anything I can to avoid using. Listen,
I don't mean to laugh at your fear, but it's funny.
Oh, no, it's true. Oh, no. In fact, I'm getting ready to post that story again on how it happened. And I was coming down to visit in Texas for a few days, and I thought, oh, God, I have to vacuum now because she's allergic to dust and blah, blah, blah. And so I'm going crazy trying to vacuum her room out. And I thought, oh, I've got to vacuum under the hairballs. The dog hair was just unbelievable. And so I thought, I got to vacuum under the dresser. So I pulled on the hose, and it wasn't, trying to get under the dresser, and it just wasn't cooperating with me. So I jerked on it real hard, just in time for me to look up. I was on my knees, just in time for me to look up and see the vacuum cleaner coming at me about 110 miles an hour, fell over, hit me in the face, split my lip open, and literally knocked me out.
Oh, I've never heard a story like this in my life. Oh, I have never known of a vacuum cleaner to go rogue. I mean, that's just like some kind of scary movie kind of thing. It's like,
I know. Thank you.
No, really. You're going to have to get one of those little, those new things that are round and they automatically vacuum. You know what I'm talking about? I don't even know what they're called.
I do.
Yeah.
But you know what? I got hairballs that are bigger than those things. No.
That's not happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now tell me about your shows and how people can see your stuff and buy your stuff and all of that, because even though you're in Fort Worth, Texas, you can be everywhere. If you want to buy, you can buy from everywhere, correct?
Yes.
At least I don't know about, if you have limitations within the country or out of the country or anything, but tell people about your shows and how to connect with you and all of that.
I do local shows, and I don't travel for shows, although I may look at doing that at some point in time. Okay. And I don't have a website, but what I do is when I'm producing, I post everything that I produce on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay.
And then people will send me a message and say, hey, I like this. Do you still have it? Or, hey, I like this. How much is it? And I have acquired clients all over the country from Facebook and Instagram.
That's
so we use PayPal or Venmo, and they pay me, and I send it to them.
Okay.
So
now, do you do special orders? I mean, or do you just sell what you make, or do you work with people who want special things?
occasionally I will work with somebody who wants something special. I don't do customs. I don't.
Okay.
I if somebody has a design that they have in mind, then I don't really do that.
Okay. All right.
And I have people that I can refer them to.
Oh, okay. That sounds
but
good.
But that's not my skill.
Gotcha. Well, you don't need to, because what you do is that people go and find her. It's Paige Pauley, and find her, and see you are on. They can friend you on Facebook.
Yes.
Just by your name, or
yes.
Or should they go to your business website?
No, they don't have to go to the business page. Just go to my personal page, because what I do is I post first on Instagram,
okay.
and then I transfer it to my business page, but then I also share it on my personal page, and
okay.
and I get more response from my personal page. So
okay. I want to ask you. We're going to be wrapping up here very quickly, but I do want to ask you. I know personally, for me, I have had the opportunity to stand on the shoulders of many people in my life and in my career, my long career, that have changed my life many times in the business world that I have moved in. Standing on the shoulders, getting a hand up, whatever it is. Have there been people in your life that were standouts for you? And the second part of that question is what you are doing to do for others, like your mentoring and things like that, and how important a big part of your life is that.
Okay. In the advertising industry, I had a lot of people who encouraged me and helped me and worked with me and gave me a lot of knowledge. And I will be forever grateful to them. And you know some of them, Gwen St. Clair.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Yeah, Craig Diebel, just a number of people that really took me under their wing and worked with me, and I just absolutely love them and will forever. When it comes to the jewelry, when I first decided that I wanted to learn how to make jewelry, it's not something that you can just walk out and find somebody to teach you. I had to search. And I found a gentleman here in Fort Worth. His name is Rod Stelter. And I went to him and I said, I want you to teach me how to do this. And he said, what do you want to learn? I said, everything. And he said, that's a tall order.
Those were going to be my exact words. Yeah, that is a very tall order. You're not asking much.
Yeah, because I knew nothing, absolutely nothing. I just knew that I wanted to do it. And so he said, let me talk to my partner, Mike. And he said, what days can you work? And I said, I have a full-time job at the Star-Telegram. The only time I can work is Saturday and Sunday. And he said, well, we're not open on Sunday, and Saturday is our busiest day, so we can't do that. He said, but let me talk to Mike. So they called me back, and he said, we thought about this, and we just decided that it really wouldn't work out because Saturday is our really busy day, and it takes time to teach somebody, and he said, so I'm really sorry. And I said, oh God. I said, thank you so much for at least considering it. Right. I am so grateful for that. And he started laughing, and he said, we're pulling your leg. Get up here on Saturday.
Oh, how mean. Oh.
He said, be here at 10 o'clock.
Oh, awesome.
And so on Saturdays, I worked the counter for him, and I was in sales, which is what I did anyway, so I sold advertising.
Right.
And when we weren't busy, they would sit me down. He bought me a jeweler's bench, set it up, got everything ready, all my tools, everything brand new, and sat down and said, okay, this is a torch. This is a file.
Oh, wow. What
this poor man literally took me under his wing, and I was so ignorant, and I made so many mistakes.
Yeah, but if you don't make mistakes, you don't learn. You don't learn
That's
anything.
true.
That's how you make them. I think that's a great story, and I think people that I know personally, and I mean, you look back and you go, I would never have been able to do what I did without them. They were crucial, and I love talking about the people like that in our lives. That
yes,
and I'm glad that you are returning that favor, and will return that favor when we get this COVID thing. I want to wrap it up with one last question for you.
Okay.
First, let me say how much fun this has been, and I greatly appreciate your time and sharing your great stories with us. You are fascinating, and I have promised people fascinating, fun people, and you certainly fill that bill to the max. But here's my last question for you before I wrap it up.
Okay.
What keeps you up at night?
Making jewelry. I'm a night owl.
Some people say their worries and their woes. For you,
Nah.
it's making jewelry. See, that's what I love about you. You're upbeat. You're such an upbeat person. I really love that. So thank you so much, Paige. And everyone, please look her up. Paige Pauley. She is in Fort Worth, Texas, but that doesn't matter. She will talk to you and share her jewelry all over. So be sure and look her up. Thanks again, Paige. And I thank all of you for listening and for being here with me this afternoon or evening or morning or wherever or whenever you are on Gigi in the 561. I hope you will take the time to go to our website, northpalmbeachlife.com, as well, our YouTube channel by the same name. Please, please stay with us.
Thank you so